906 Outdoors is brought to you in part by Orion Hunting Products. The UP is home to a wealth of great places, natural wonders, and unique people. It's also a land steeped in tradition. Traditions like hunting, and in many cases, hunting means going to camp. It's December, and in the UP, that means muzzleloader and late archery season for whitetails. The temperature's hanging between 0 and 10. It's a perfect time to go camping. Sit back, put your feet up and the remote down, and stick around for this special edition of 906 Outdoors UP Camp Stories.
Up here, we just turn back the clock, live life the way we want it to be.
9 million acres of forest, 1,700 miles of continuous shoreline, 4,300 lakes, 12,000 miles of streams, more than 300 waterfalls, 15 counties, 2 time zones, and 1 area code. Welcome to the Upper Peninsula. Welcome to 906 Outdoors. .906 Outdoors is brought to you by Cooking Wild Seasonings. Make it fresh, make it yours. It's December in the Upper Peninsula. A cold day would be well below 0. A warm day would be 20 degrees. A nice day would be any day you can get out into the woods. Thoughts of bucks and rut have faded along with the colors of fall. But that doesn't mean the hunt is over. Here in the UP, December means muzzleloader and late archery season for whitetails. Add in the late small game season, and you've got plenty of reasons to get into the woods. And that's just what we did. We packed up the gear, got out of town, and set up camp for the weekend. Home sweet home. Today's show is brought to you in part by Rapid River Knife Works, home of Michigan's largest custom knife factory showroom. We were set up and settled in, and the rest of the crew showed up just in time for the evening hunt. The crew consisted of my son Jordan, who'd be hunting with a muzzleloader. My good friend Petey, also hunting with a muzzleloader. Another good friend, Petey's brother Russ, who planned on hunting grouse and rabbit, and he volunteered to be the camp cook. And me, I was here to shoot video, and spend some time in a tree stand with my bow. With hopes of some day one action, I tagged along with Jordan for the evening hunt. certainly many obvious differences between hunting with a muzzleloader and hunting with a typical centerfire rifle. Some say it's like a slow-moving freight train compared to a speedy sports car. If for some reason you ever found yourself in a position where you needed a second shot quickly, ain't happening. And taking a crack at a deer over 100 yards could prove to be hit and miss. And there's also the cleaning process that takes place after you shoot. I also discovered some similarities between hunting with a muzzleloader versus my trusty old 30-30. You hunt in much the same fashion as you would in rifle season. Hunker down in a blind and sit patiently. For this year, I did notice one similarity in particular. Hunting on this night would prove to be pretty much exactly what many hunters experienced this past rifle season. Lots of waiting, nothing to aim at. Our only reward would be a quick glimpse of an uninterested doe passing through. I'll be the first to admit I have very little patience when it comes to sitting in a blind and waiting for a deer. I can't remember the last time I hunted in a blind for more than 15 minutes without kicking the door open and hitting the trail. Put a camera in my hand and it's a different story, but when it comes to hunting, I'm walking. That being said, I wasn't that disappointed when darkness rolled in. The thought of getting back to camp to connect up with the delicious UP pasty that I knew was simmering away on the top of the wood stove was overwhelming. It's amazing how food can taste so much better relative to your surroundings. We finished out the day with a few snorts of whiskey, a bunch of stories, some new, some old, and the distant howls of a pack of coyotes backed up by the mesmerizing sounds of a crackling fire. Before long, the morning wake-up call from the camp cook. Anybody getting up? Today I'd tag along with Petey. We conveniently set up camp not far from the blind Petey hunts in during the rifle season. That gave me high hopes that this was the morning. It was exactly the same as the pop-up blind, except it was raised up in the air, built out of wood, had windows, and it was insulated. We no sooner got into the blind than the deer, along with one grouse, began to arrive. As in any deer hunting scenario, I began to picture where the big guy was going to come from. Probably straight out of that marsh in front of us. I could see it now. First just a glimpse of a deer, then a flash of a rack. I could already feel my heart beating and hear the story back at camp. Then again, maybe he'll come trotting through the hardwoods. A quick bite to eat before searching out a spot to bed down for the day. Yep, just a matter of time in this spot. Well, the morning drifted by and he never showed. Matter of fact, with the exception of the 4 does that came and left several times, it was pretty much just like the last spot, and exactly like rifle season. Nothing to aim at. But that was okay. My pasty wore off some time ago. And breakfast was calling. Back at camp, Russell was busy with breakfast. I'm not sure there's anything that smells better than breakfast when you're in the outdoors. The smell of coffee, cinnamon rolls, and Canadian bacon, with just a hint of wood smoke. As part of this adventure, I won't soon forget. "906 Outdoors" is brought to you by Race Driven, your source for premier power sports products. 906 Outdoors is brought to you in part by Blades Bait and Tackle, your hard water connection to Little Beatty Knock. The nice part about living in the middle of nowhere, even for a weekend, is that it forces you to relax. There you are, nowhere to go. You can't run to the post office or finish cleaning the garage. No putting up Christmas lights or running to the store. No porch to sweep off, no sidewalk to shovel, and there's not a chance I'll have to fix that wheel that keeps falling off the garage door. Just sit there and do nothing but relax. Dinner was in the pot. Venison roast and pork kettle roast. Russell grabbed a shotgun and headed off in search of some late-season grouse. Petey headed out for a bit of afternoon rabbit hunting. Jordy headed out with the muzzleloader, and I grabbed my bow and headed for the tree stand. To be honest, I've never hunted the late season with a bow before. I tend to relate bow hunting to a lighter jacket and the colors of fall leaves, so 8 degrees and white would be something new for me. I can tell you, if you're a bow hunter and you haven't been out in December, give it a whirl. Even if you find out you don't care for archery in the cold, hanging on the side of a tree in the UP woods, waiting for a deer to show up, is never a bad way to spend an afternoon. And even if they don't show up, you still get the satisfaction of the anticipation. I did get to watch a doe and a spike scooting around my stand for a while. Nothing to shoot at, but enough to add a little bit of excitement into the afternoon. I finished off the night staring at a winter sunset and an empty runway. Time to head back to camp. As the day comes to an end, the evening begins. We were far enough from civilization to forget about the usual daily chores, but close enough that Patty and a friend joined us for dinner. Sitting around a tent in the middle of nowhere listening to El Marejo on the radio is not a bad way to spend a Saturday night in the UP.
El Marejo, and you're listening to American Country Gold on 103 FXD.
It was sure fine with all of us. Matter of fact, pretty much everyone we talked to thought we were nuts for camping in a tent in the middle of December.
Hazardous weather. Moderate to heavy lake effect snow will continue to impact the Garden Peninsula through the evening.
But I think half of them wished they were coming along, and all of them would have had a hard time leaving if they'd stopped in. All in all, it was a great weekend. We hunted with a muzzleloader, we hunted with a bow, we hunted grouse and rabbit. Unfortunately, no animals were harmed in the making of this episode, but that was okay. Don't get me wrong, it's always great to connect with a nice buck. But just how imperative that is debatable. I think just knowing he's out there is what keeps us doing what we do, matching wits with the master of the forest. We use everything we've learned in an attempt to outsmart him in his own backyard. And most of the time, he's going to win. We take what we've learned and come back the next day, or the next year, and try again. And then one day, everything falls into place, and we cross paths. He slips up, and we're in the right place at the right time. Then it's our turn. I guess that's why we keep coming back year after year, for that chance. A chance that we're in the right place at the right time. I think we keep hunting because of the ones we didn't get, more so than the ones we hung on the wall. And as long as we know he's out there, we'll keep coming back. We spend countless hours hunting, but only a few seconds taking a shot. As long as we can make it about the hunting, we can never be disappointed. 906 Outdoors is brought to you in part by Christ, your Northwoods neighborhood store. The more time you spend in the woods, the more likely you are to encounter something unique. And some of the encounters may make the hair stand up on the back of your neck.
Well, it started out, I didn't know the bear was even there on November 11th on a Monday. I go in on Tuesday the next day to check the cameras, and I find my Primos double bull blind smashed down to the ground, and tooth marks in it and claw marks in it all over the place. It took me a good 15 minutes to get it set back up. I actually wondered if I was even going to be able to use the blind again. So I got it set up, and it was a repeat story every single day. Hit the same thing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 4 days in a row, the bear smashed my blind down. So I was kind of worried about sitting in there opening day, but nothing's going to stop me from sitting in that shack because I think about deer hunting 365 days a year. So when I finally was sitting in the shack on opening day, I realized, oh, okay, here's why the bear was smashing my shack down. And I had a stick of EverCalm deer herd scent, and I had that smeared on some walls inside my shack just for a cover scent. Well, every time that bear would walk by, he gets to my shack and he can smell a herd of deer in there. So that's why he was smashing my shack down. So I'll never use EverCalm inside my shack again, no matter the weather. But anyway, a decent buck come in about a 15-inch spread on opening night, about 5 minutes before shooting was over, and I decided to take him. He ran about 40 yards only, and I heard him crash into the woods. So I waited a few minutes. I went down there with my flashlight, started tracking. I already knew I had him, but I am colorblind, so I have a tough time following red. So I basically practiced on this deer. I found him, put my tag on him. He was a 7, not the 8 that I thought he was. So I dragged him out to the road, to the trail's edge, and I went back to camp and got my otter sled, and I headed back there and walked over. Big hill I hunt on the other side, so I'm going up the hill, and I get over the hill, and I'm on the other side halfway down, about even with my shack, and I can see 2 eyes down there where my buck is, and I didn't think nothing of it. I'm just going to walk down there and take my buck back and put him in the sled and go. I get down there, and I'm about 3 feet away. I'm looking down, and I was confused. The snow was there, the imprints of the buck was there, and all the blood from where it had leaked out of him, but the deer was gone. And I was so confused, I was trying to figure out what the heck is going on, when all of a sudden I hear, hoof, 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 like that 3 times, this loud huffing noise. And I turned my flashlight on high, on my headlamp, and this bear was standing there. He was already eating on my buck. He took 4 or 5 bites out of the hind quarters. He had the deer on his back and was eating on the inside. He's a giant bear. He probably goes in a 400 to 450 pound range. He probably only had 4 or 5, maybe 6 bites out of the hind quarters by the time I got there. So I was lucky I didn't stay at camp and have a shot in a beer like I normally do before I go to get my deer, because even a few more minutes, eating more of that buck, he might not have let it go. He stands up on his hind legs. I got my backpack on with my pistol in my backpack. No time to take that off to even try to protect myself. So the only thing I could do was holler as loud as I could, and I took the sled, and I'm 26 feet from him. I'm shaking this thing as hard as I could possibly shake it. And I'm yelling at the top of my lungs, "You're not gonna take my buck!" And I must have yelled that probably 10 times at least, 10 or 12. And that bear, he stood up and he kind of did a herky-jerk motion and put his paw on the tree to balance himself. Well, I had my light on high in his face. He just, after about 2 seconds, he just turned and whirled and went back into the swamp at probably a half of a jog speed. So I'm wondering, now he's out of the distance of my light shining. Is he standing back there or what? So I figured this is my chance. So I ran up there, grabbed my buck, threw him in my sled as fast as I could go. And I just, all in one motion, turned around, put the rope over my shoulder and started running. And I got back out to where I originally dropped the buck at the trail's edge. And I never stopped running. I ran over the top of the hill, down the hill the other side, across the field. I grabbed my four-wheeler and came back and drove the four-wheeler there. Normally that's a 7-minute walk. It took me 2 minutes according to my trail cameras, so I was moving pretty good for a 56-year-old man. But I got my buck back, cleaned him out, and I couldn't wait to get back to camp and tell everybody the story. And most people wondering, are you crazy to even sit in that deer blind after a bear smashing it down 4 days in a row? Yeah, I probably am crazy. Crazy for deer hunting. You'll never stop me from being out there.
Feel free to join us on Facebook or visit us at 906outdoors.com. And while you're there, be sure to sign up to get on the 906 Outdoors email list. We'll send you an occasional email with tips, recipes, and more. You'll also be eligible for giveaways just for being on the list. Thanks for watching, and we invite you to join us next week for another adventure right here on 906 Outdoors.